Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hi, and welcome to this Global Research in Progress meeting. Thank you so much for sparing the time for the next few hours, hopefully to be inspired by incredible talks and to make some new friends and contacts, and to think about your own career and where this might help you along the way. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Tamar Ghosh. I'm the Chief Exec here at RSTMH. And I'll share a little bit about RSTMH with you before we get started with the event agenda. So we are a charity and membership society. We started in 1907, a long time ago, and we are here for people that work in or are interested in tropical medicine or global health. The scope of our work these days is very broad. Covers infectious diseases, non-communicable diseases, and lots of other areas of work that impact on health equity, such as conflict, such as climate change, such as mental health and stigma, and such as drug resistance. So what we do covers lots of different areas, and you'll get a flavour of that today from our presentations. We are based in the UK, but our members are not. We have over 2,000 members and they're based in over 100 countries. And we support them in very many ways. We do events like this in person and also online. We give out grants for early career researchers and travel scholarships as well for our members. We support our members by having a networking opportunity at events just like this. And we also have a directory on our website where they can find other members working in similar areas. People that join the society are from all different types of work, from all different sectors, and from, as I mentioned, many countries. And they might be working in a clinical role, they might be in an academic research role, they might be in social science, and in local government, in NGOs, in industry, and also in academia and in health delivery. Our big vision and mission is really shared with lots of other organisations and individuals in global health, and that's about eradicating and eliminating diseases and trying to improve equity in health. And we do that in a number of ways. We do lots of activities, and I've mentioned some of them. I'll mention a few in a second, a few more. And in that way, we try to make sure that we're growing the skills and expertise and networks of our members and of the wider community. And we also then listen to what we're being told by our membership, by our volunteers who are based across the world in roles such as country ambassador, global assessor. There are also many volunteers, hundreds of them, who help on our scientific journals. And all of the information that they tell us and all of the outputs of our activities help us to identify change that might be needed to achieve those big goals that I mentioned before. So that might be a policy change, it might be an increase in funding for something, it might be a research gap that we identify, it might be showcasing a particular area of need or a success, and trying to promote that. So we keep all of the information that we gather and we try and use that to call for change in the sector, and that we hope will lead to some of these movements towards elimination, eradication and improved equity. So I mentioned the journals, and we have two scientific journals that we publish here. One is called Transactions, and that's for our members or subscribers only. It's a hybrid journal, so you can publish in it for free, or you can also publish under open access. It's quite a clinical journal. It's been going since 1908, so it's very established, and many of the kind of groundbreaking changes that happened in our sector were published in Transactions. So if you're a member of the society, you can have a look at that and find out more information. We also publish another journal called International Health, which is published every 2 months. It's fully open access and it's a bit more policy led. Now this one, anyone can see, being open access. It's a bit younger, about 20 years old, and it's a really good way of keeping up to date with what's happening in the sector. So if you're considering getting involved in RSTMH, you can sign up to the newsletter. I would encourage you to do that. You don't have to be a member to receive one of our newsletters, and that gives you a flavour of what we're doing and what's happening in the wider world. If you would like to become a member, then there is a discount code that you can find if you just email Nell, who's our membership manager, and you can see in the chat lots of interesting links about things that I'm mentioning now, and you can pick up on those. I mentioned our grants program. We give out grants every year to as many early career researchers as we can. And these are for 1-year projects. The grants are up to £5,000. They can be on any topic within tropical medicine or global health. And they're a really good way to have your first piece of research this must be your first piece of funding, and it's a great way to just test the water on an area that you're interested in and see if it's for you. And in the course of doing that project, we hear so many stories of wonderful skills and networks and experiences that are achieved. So I encourage you to look at that. The program for this year is already underway, 2025, but keep your eye on that in the future if that's something that would be of interest to you. We also every year give out medals and awards to recognise success in our sector, and there's lots of success at all levels, from emerging leader up to very senior individuals. So again, have a look at those in the newsletter. This year is just finished, but there's time to think about next year. And the last thing I wanted to mention in terms of our work is our website Grow. So the website address is growglobal.health. And this is a space that we created about 5 years ago to capture lots of different opportunities to be involved in global health, whether that be funding, whether that be research opportunities, whether that be a course, or a job. There are lots of things on there, lots of different organizations post their opportunities, and it's free to have a look at. So do keep that in mind if you are thinking about your next step in your career. So on to today, Global Research in Progress. This is such an exciting meeting. We've run this for many, many years in person and online, and it's a great way for people that are early in their career to share their work. Often learning about new areas of global health or tropical medicine from other speakers. It's a chance to network and meet other people and start to think about new connections. And we always have very inspiring speakers, and today we do as well. So before I get on to introduce our first keynote speaker, I just wanted to mention a bit of housekeeping. You'll have been sent a program. Do have a look at that. It has the full bios and information about all of our speakers, and it has the running order for today, so you can follow where we are. And also it's just a great chance to be able to hear more about our speakers, because there's probably not enough for us to be able to say when we're introducing them. So if you want to know more, do look in that program and follow what's happening. For the questions for our speakers today, please use the Q&A function, which should be at the bottom of your screen. Post your questions as they're talking. Make sure that you get everything written up that you want to ask them. And if we don't have time to do that today, we will pass those questions on and hopefully they'll be answered in good time for you. We will be recording the keynotes today and we'll be sharing that. So look out for that as well. Okay, I think that's housekeeping over. So I just wanted to then, I've got the pleasure of introducing our first keynote speaker. And Dr. Luria Founou is actually one of our grant awardees from a little while ago. So we're really excited that now she's back as our keynote. Dr. Luria is Head of Research at the Centre of Expertise in Biological Diagnostic of Cameroon. And in that position, she leads innovative work in diagnostics, infectious disease prevention, and antimicrobial resistance. We're delighted that we have Leslie here today to deliver her keynote. You see the title of her talk in the chat, Unraveling the Mysteries of Antimicrobial Resistance. So I'm going to pass over to Dr. Luria. Welcome, Dr. Luria, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts now.
Thank you so much, Tama, for the nice introduction. It's a great honor and pleasure for me to be back today at RSTMH and share my little story and experience and what I want to do. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see it properly, right?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
great.
Okay, thank you. Oops, share it back again. Yes. So like mentioned, my topic is about antimicrobial resistance in a way, but also about how can anyone start leading change and contribute to a better future. Because I'm using antimicrobial resistance as my own example, but I believe all the other people, the speaker of today, are going to share how they are also trying to change or contribute to a better world using their own expertise or topics of interest. So before starting with my story and everything about antimicrobial resistance, I want to bring you back about this quote of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, where he mentioned that privilege is here and with privilege goes responsibility. Why this quote? Well, because at first, if you Google my name, you will see that I work mainly, or I used to work mainly on food safety. I did my PhD in food safety, working on pigs, on animals only. But as I became a mother in Cameroon, I realized that giving birth and raising a child in Africa is not that easy. And actually, sometimes many of the mothers, many of the pregnant women don't have the chance to see their child grow or to raise their child perfectly, have a children at life. And I also realized that when my own kids, my own son, Brian and Jason, when they were very, very, very young, like they were almost 2 years and 6 months for Jason, they got sick at the same moment. I had the chance to bring them to the hospital because I had the knowledge to share the information that the nanny was supposed to look for when the kids were with them, with her. And with this knowledge, she was able to provide me or to inform me of the probable illness of Jason and Brian on time. And me, as a medical professional, I had the knowledge also to bring them to the best doctors in Cameroon, because when you know how our healthcare settings are, you know that you should better invest a lot of money to look for the best pediatrician or the best doctor. So I had the money to bring them to the hospital, I had the money to afford for the drugs, I had the money to afford for the lab testing that was made to them, all this within a day. And by chance, or by God's grace, they were safe and they continue to grow perfectly. But this led me to realize that if I didn't have this instinct, if my nanny didn't have the knowledge, if I didn't have the monies, if I didn't have access to quality care, if I didn't have the timely diagnostic and the adequate drugs, what would have happened to them? What would have happened to them? So that I realized that raising a child in Africa hangs by a thread that can be cut at any time. And this is the case for many, many families in Africa and especially in Cameroon, where people are dying, whether you're a doctor or not a doctor. If you don't have all these things at the same moment, your baby will certainly die. So based on this story, based on this privilege that I've experienced myself, I decided, without no further assessment, to change my focus from food safety to neonatal health. And then, as I'm not a gynecologist, I'm not a pediatrician, I'm only a microbiologist, so I decided to focus on bacteria. And that's why bacteria and antimicrobial resistance became the angle or the perspective I use every day to solve this problem and contribute as someone who has been privileged to raise children being in good health. And the RSTMH in 2021 or 2020, I remember 2020, was one of the first grants I received. I think it was even the first grant I received, a small grant in partnership with the Children Investment Fund. At this time, I had no clues about winning a grant, implementing a grant. I just knew that I want to solve neonatal mortality. I want to reduce it at the minimum level. I didn't have papers in neonatal health, but this organization trusts my potential for me to contribute to this vision. And I then performed a study in collaboration with my mentor, Professor Stephen Bentley, who also had a grant from the Cambridge Africa Alborada, and we were able to investigate group-based Streptococcus or Streptococcus agalactiae from mothers in labors and their neonate born actually directly. And we wanted to see, because at this time, this group-based Streptococcus was the leading or one of the leading pathogen according to the World Health Organization or all other information that was killing babies. So this was my first point of interest in this neonatal health world or field. And we investigated this group-based threat, and we wanted to do genomic or molecular characterization to see what is happening in mothers and babies. So when we did that, we collected around 300 mothers and their babies in labor, like I mentioned, and also at birth for the babies. We did phenotypic testing with the CAMP factor, which is a test known to allow us to detect Streptococcus agalactiae phenotypically. And we then do molecular testing in the lab. This is in Cameroon, where we are looking for the CFBP gene that was also supposed to be linked with Streptococcus agalactiae. After that, we found that based on this result, we had a low prevalence of GBS in mothers and neonate. But more surprisingly is that all the isolate that we had, be it CAMP factor positive, molecular positive with CFBP gene, or both, we sent them to whole genome sequencing at Sanger Institute, and we realized that they were not actually Streptococcus agalactiae. So the genomics analysis of the whole genome show us that none of them were Streptococcus agalactiae. So you can't see this paper online because we couldn't publish it. It was against all what was known at the time. So, but we took the information and we realized that maybe there are other bacteria that are actually most relevant for the neonatal mortality in Cameroon, or perhaps in Africa. And you also realize that there is a need for more advanced diagnostic solution, probably because the environment or the microbiota of humans or mothers in Cameroon or in Africa are not the same as other parts of the world. So based on that, I started now focusing on neonatal sepsis and realized that neonates pay the hard price of neonatal sepsis in sub-Saharan Africa, with 1 million of deaths occurring within 1 month in 2022. And the leading killer are E. coli or Escherichia coli and Klebsiella pneumoniae. So I continued my investigation and realized that Cameroon is actually out of pace to meet the United Nations neonatal target by 2030. And you need to do 3 to 5 times more effort to reach this goal if you want to make sure that we are under 12 neonatal deaths by 2030. So based on that, I started also looking at this cohort that I've already collected, the 300 samples, to see what could be the other bacteria present in this sample. I just screened some. And for some of them, we've realized that there were E. coli and Klebsiella pneumoniae a lot in these samples. And this led me to look for funding with the same cohort. We screened 10 samples. We realized that out of these 10 samples, 8 were positive to ESBL enterobacteriales in mothers, and at least 20% or 30% for babies. So based on this fact, I wrote directly a project that was awarded by the Trachea Research Fund in the same year of the RSTMH. And again, I continue this same application process to see what could we do more. And then I won other grants like the OWSG Early Career Award that was still for investigating the pathogen, but also diagnostic solution, and the Marie Curie postdoctoral fellowship that was now to create a diagnostic solution that could be adapted to African settings. And also got an RF research fellowship development based on these same studies, based on the information that I gathered from this small grant of the RSTMH in 2021. So these are small results that we've published with my master student, Axel. Axel was one of the students based on the Trachea Research Fund. And she also took the same cohort of the RSTMH collected in 2021 and 2020, and she added to that 100 mothers and babies, healthcare workers, and hospital environment. From the result that we have done phenotypic identification on conventional medium and mature screening, and we called chromogenic medium and biological testing. We also did PCR. And for the retrospective sample that were already collected during the RSTMH and the Alborada project, we realized that around 50% of the mothers were colonized by ESBL producing enterobacteriales, and while the babies were 20% colonized by ESBL producing enterobacteriales and 10% by ESBL producing non-fermenters that could be Pseudomonas aeruginosa or Acinetobacter baumannii. And she continued by doing the assessment now with a prospective sample that she collected herself. And she found that around 90% of the mothers were colonized by enterobacteriales, out of which 90% were colonized by multi-drug resistant enterobacteriales. This is at birth. This is at the point of labor, at the point of delivery that the mother were collected. And among the 90%, 58% were colonized by multi-drug resistant and ESBL producing enterobacteriales. So if you don't know what is it, these are one of the highest level of resistance a bacteria can have. That means if you have an infection with this bacteria, it has hard a chance to kill you because many of the drugs that will be used will not work. And then we assess what was happening in the babies at the point of birth. Again, 25% of the babies were colonized by enterobacteriales. Out of these, 64% were multi-drug resistant enterobacteriales, and 36% were multi-drug resistant plus ESBL positive enterobacteriales. Similarly, for the healthcare workers, 20% were colonized during their work, and all were colonized by multi-drug resistant enterobacteriales, and 40% by multi-drug resistant enterobacteriales and ESBL. We found that the main ESBL resistance gene was the BLASTX-M with 75% of prevalence, which is coherent with what we see in the literature as this is one of the leading ESBL resistance genes. Then we've assessed the transmission of these bacteria to babies to see if some of these babies were they colonized because the mothers share the bacteria they had in their vagina during the delivery or not. And we realized that 77% of the babies were born to positive mothers. Based on this and based on the phenotypical result, we could assume or we could postulate that actually the mother is transmitting the pathogen to the babies. And if we prevent the transmission from the mother, we automatically prevent it to baby. But we had a low resolution tool that could help us to see, to investigate whether this was true or not. At the time, we didn't have whole genome sequencing to assess properly. We didn't have the follow-up to see if the baby got sick or not. These were only colonization samples. But what we were able to see was that only one of this couple of mothers and baby pair that we've seen previously were actually from the same mothers and babies. And we could see that one of the baby's pathogen was already multidrug resistant. But we also noticed something strange, actually, is that this other couple of mothers were not actually from the same, they were not the same mothers. This was a babies, another mothers, and a healthcare workers collected at different time points. And you can see that the mother came before. She had a multidrug resistant isolate that was identical with the isolate of E. coli that was born on 4 days later. And in between, we have a workers here, we is in between, that has been collected in between, and we would share a common ancestor with this other isolate. This is one example of transfer that we assume was horizontal instead of vertical, like we could postulate from the phenotypic result. But most interestingly, to confirm that we have this cluster here, where we have 3 isolates from babies, 1, 2, 3, and with another mothers, they had the same profile and they were collected 1 day apart for the babies and almost 1 week or 2 weeks apart for the mothers. They were all identical. Again, this shows us that there is an horizontal transmission happening during the labor, and that could be the main route or source of transmission for the babies. And if we actually want to prevent neonatal sepsis, we should consider hospital transmission or horizontal transmission from healthcare workers or hospital environment to mothers and also from them to babies. We also look at other pathogens like methicillin-resistant staphylococcus, and this was made by my student Ellen Kaye in 2021, still with the same cohort that we couldn't find GBS on them, but she assessed rather staphylococcus, that means all kind of staphylococcus inside the samples. And she realized that 80% of the mothers were colonized by this staphylococcus strain, which is quite normal, but all of them were colonized by methicillin-resistant staphylococcus again, while 43% of babies were colonized at birth, that means in the nasopharyngeal swab and in the nasopharyngeal swab by this staphylococcus, and 95% were actually methicillin-resistant staphylococcus, which are again highly dangerous bacteria that when you have the infection, the methicillin is the main drugs that we give to the babies to save them. So if it is resistant, you have to look for other drugs, other antibiotics that may be more expensive or have more side effects for the babies. So this again led us to realize that there are indeed other pathogens than group-based strep that are most relevant for the African context. And more recently, one of my students, Patrice, who was also involved in the Trachea research project as a research assistant, investigated now across a hospital and across the One Health interface. So he went for hospitalized patients, including babies, hospital environment, hospital wastewater, and see what was happening in this really important hospital, that is the Yaoundé Central Hospital and the Yaoundé University Teaching Hospital. He realized that 30% of the clinical samples were colonized by ESBL Enterobacteriales. In the environment, we have 27% of ESBL producing Enterobacteriales, while in the wastewaters, all the samples that he has collected were already carried by harboring ESBL producing Enterobacteriales. And again, he found that now this is Klebsiella pneumoniae that he was looking for. He zoomed for the transmission of Klebsiella pneumoniae across all these settings. And he realized that there were Klebsiella pneumoniae isolated in neonatology that he assumed was an outbreak occurring in this ward. As you can see here, they both share a common, they both are identical with ERIC PCR. And again, here we have the same profile in this ERIC PCR. And they were all linked to wastewater sample isolated from the emergency ward. So again, this suggests that if we want to prevent neonatal sepsis, we should not only consider the babies alone, but we should consider the baby in all its environment, including mothers, workers, environment, and everything that could interact and transmit the pathogen to babies to make sure that every babies can live a healthy life from birth. And more recently, as I mentioned, I've been awarded the Marie Curie postdoctoral fellowship to carry out studies to create a diagnostic solution. This is a very confidential information, so I won't share anything within the result, only what was the goal of the solution. It was just to go in point of the labor, since we have noticed that at the point of labor, transmission can occur, and we can predict based on the result of the microbiota if a baby is sick or not. So we went to create a diagnostic solution using microfluidics, artificial intelligence to detect more than 10 bacteria at the same moment and to give results within 15 minutes. So my Marie Curie postdoctoral fellowship is complete, but we've managed to have a prototype giving result within 20 minutes from the sample to the result. That means from the sample of the vaginal swab, I can have a result of group B Streptococcus, E. coli, Klebsiella, Staphylococcus, and this is going to be timely diagnostic for Africa and helping end in neonatal death. So I'm pausing here not because now I'm no longer talking about the fact or the result. I want to share now how this happened to me. It happened to me because few mentors helped me. Either be to have a PhD, either be when I was looking for a funding. I had the mentors, I had Blocker and Stephen Bentley, who helped me to believe in myself, who helped me to find the structure around what I wanted to do. And I realized that without this support, without this support and mentorship of this senior researcher, I could have spent my whole life without trusting and unleashing my full potential. Actually, as Albert Einstein said, everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. So I start now giving back, not only to my master, but also to other people, because everyone actually just needs small help to unleash their full potential. And Axel, as she was starting her master, she couldn't believe and seeing herself having an exceptional master, doing the kind of work that propelled her in her career and having international recognition. But at the end of her master, she managed to publish her papers or her thesis in the American Journal of Infection Control. This is impact factor 4.9 for a master student living in Cameroon without no support, without nothing else than trust and support from the mentor. You can imagine how life-changing this opportunity or this achievement was for her. And it does not stop here. With Patrice, has so well understood the narrative of having the right mentor that he started doing all the effort we call him to do, we direct him to do, and he was awarded the Best Student Award of the University of Caen in 2025. And today, he has at least 7 published papers and 2 ongoing. And you can see that the legacy you are creating by doing your research is not stopping just with your research. You have to give it back, to share it back to other people. And that's the most important legacy, because if I want to stop neonatal sepsis or neonatal death on my own, I will never succeed to do that. But if I have other people, other scientists who unleash their full potential, who are thriving, who are doing their best effort to do the job, then we can have a chance to do that and have a sustainable Africa. Again, I'm continuing because I'm now moving, because when you start on master, it's good. When you start on PhD, it's great. I realize that for many people, it's already so late. For many people, for many young, when you meet them in master and PhD, they are so broken in their mind that it's very, very difficult to manage to save one of these person. So what I now decide to do is also now to work very, very early by empowering the next generation of researchers, by empowering also not only my community, not only myself and the team at Sencam RE, like we are doing genomics work, and our team member, our student, but also external researcher. We have today trained at least 30 master students up to 2024, 3 PhD medical microbiology in Cameroon, and we are now also offering or supporting external research from other institutions. As you can see, we have been training them in molecular biology, in research skill, because some don't have the chance to have the mentorship we provide to our students. We have also been doing bioinformatics trainings for other researchers, and now we have also been doing that support to many early or high school students, because you cannot say that you only save the master and the doctorate student. You can start earlier than that if you want to make sure that when they reach the master, their mind is already reset, their mind is already reprogrammed to do what is better for them, to make sure that they can aspire to a better world and they have the right to dream more. So we went with the Cameroon Academy of Young Scientists to empower final year high school ladies in 2022, and it was not enough. We also went with my institution, the Cameroon Academy of Young Scientists, to empower first year college from 8 to 13 years old. We are empowering them in science and infectious diseases, technologies, and helping them to believe that there is no restriction to what they could achieve in their life. We are not trained, actually, I was not trained in my country to believe that I could aspire for more. I was supposed to dream for something conventional, for something normal, but I realized that actually we can have everything we want if we believe, and if there are more role models who let us know that it is very possible to do that. And this is what Professor Erika Okeke, that I had the pleasure to introduce last year during the International Women's Day, also mentioned during the podium we organized with the Cameroon Academy of Young Scientists. I hope you can see, you can hear what is.
Luria, we can see it, but we can't hear the audio on your video.
Can you hear this?
No, I can't. Well, I can't hear audio.
Oh, I don't know how to do that now. How can I do that? I don't know how to do that. Okay, it's fine. I think you can just pass it, because I don't know how to make it sure that you can hear it. Should I pass it?
Try one more time.
Okay.
If
Okay.
you can.
Come again.
You could try one more time to play if you want and see if the audio starts.
Okay. Is it playing?
It's playing, but no audio. I'm so sorry. You might have to pass over. Sorry.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. So what she was saying is that it is possible for everyone to reach their full potential, and it's very possible for everyone to reach their full potential, to become professor or doctor, whatever you are. And we just need to have more role models who are inspiring people to do that. Role models for female, it means more female role models, and also more female allies, because me, I have been fortunate to have some few, not a lot, but it's enough, and a lot of female role models that allow me to believe that it is possible to do everything I want, even if I have family and responsibilities and whatever I want to do. And legacy, again, now I'm now moving from purely academic work to something else that is about the legacy. What will the world remember about you? And I realized that we should become a better version of ourselves. And if you strive to become a better version of yourself, you have the chance to let a legacy that will live after you. And by becoming a better version of myself means that I should not confine myself to be an academics, to be a researcher, and to be a conventional person. But I can decide to do something that will put me in an comfort situation, but still contribute to something that is aligned with the world I want to create. So that's why, while doing that, by discussing with one of my friends, Safiatou Dabo, we've created a WINS based, that is the African Women in Science, where we want African female role model to be role model for other African women. Instead of us looking for elsewhere in the continent, we want us African women in STEM be inspiring other women. And we did that because we realized that we had difference. I was complaining because when I met Safi, my kids were very small. I could not do anything. I could not go to conference. I could not attend to everything I could wanted. But her, in the contrast, she was traveling all over the world because her kids were already so old. They were teenagers. They were living their own life. And because of our difference, because Staffy was also telling me that you already had your PhD so early, so you are young, you can create your career, you can have an achievement. Here she was now trying to do a PhD. That difference let us create African women in science because we realize that our difference are also our greatest asset. And they may have other women on the continent having this kind of situation or even more complicated one who can inspire other people, who can inspire other women who just need this small support. And that's why we created this as organization, this association to inspire other women, be more supportive, celebrate each other, employing younger women in training and scholarship. And we did publish papers about the gap we've seen in African and about African women in STEM. We also did mentorship program for women in STEM. And this is something that we found was important for many mentees who were with us, who managed to have opportunities, who managed to have structure, and then clarify their career in something that we should now have a lot more in Africa and even elsewhere in the world. But we are talking about Africa much more because we believe that there's a significant gap already existing, and we need to close a bit the gap we've seen by having more effort that are in this same aspect. And then I've created a company that is named Dare to Dream for Africa that is now helping scientists to unlock their full potential and transform their frustration into opportunities. Because now many Africans are having a lot of frustration being due to the government, the environment that is not good, and all this frustration can lead first to brain drain or also lead to discouragement. Many Africans do not believe anymore that they can do anything. They are blocked in a phase of imposter syndrome that prevents them from solving the very much issue they are seeing every single day. So we are helping by providing support to that, by providing training, coaching a community for people to change the narrative around the problem they are seeing. And we also do that by doing training for bioinformatics because many courses of bioinformatics are in English, while in Africa, half of the continent speak French. That means there is a gap that is created, that has been created by the language barrier. And you want to solve or bridge this gap by providing courses and training that are adapted to African researchers from French-speaking countries. And we don't do scientific leadership capacity program and for PhD student, postdoc, lecturer, and group leader to help them secure grant because some of the researchers that we have also seen, they have issue about funding. They don't know how to get funding, so they never try to get funding. Or when they try once. When they fail once, they say, okay, I'm done with it. I will just continue my life like this. I will never be able to do this kind of research I want to do. But it's not the case because even for me, at first I failed the RSTMH. I failed, I was rejected because they didn't have enough money. But I applied again by having a better structure, having better guidance. I was able to secure it, and this has been has changed my life forever. And this is why we've now provided this kind of support to help also researchers to transform their life because you just need a small asset to change your life. And we provide community to help people. We provide also a publication platform with YouTube where we share tips, strategy, and everything you need to thrive. And we also have a podcast that is Dare to Dream for Africa Stories, where we now invite guests from all over Africa and from all over the world who share how they changed their life or what they did to become who they are, the challenge they face, and all this to inspire African research, to inspire African scientists to help change the narrative of Africa. So the take-home message from this presentation is actually that the funding you are receiving, even if it's small, is not the goal. The funding you are receiving is to serve the community. And I believe that the funds are not funding for you to just do the research. They're funding you, the people, and the people that you will serve. They're funding you to help you to become a better version of yourself, and that the funding is the compass to your legacy, and that you can thrive from anywhere you are. Even if you don't have resources, even if you don't have support, You just need to believe and put the effort and action to do that. You already have everything that you require. So with that, I would like to thank the sponsor and partners and every mentor, student, everything that every person that have contributed to my legacy. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Luria, back again. Thank you so much. That was a really inspiring talk. And it's lovely to hear a combination of your projects that you've been working on and all you've achieved in those, and also about your personal journey. I think that we're going to get some questions through the chat, through Claire's email address. If you're a participant today, I'm not sure if the Q&A is quite working, so do send any questions you've got to Claire, and her email is, as I mentioned, here for you to send to you directly. But I had a few questions just to start with, Luria, if that's okay.
Okay.
You mentioned about, well, you mentioned lots of things. There's so many questions I had to ask you, but I just wanted to start with one. You mentioned that at the start of your career journey, you had a good supervisor. I think it was Stephen, yeah. And that, you know, he was a good a force to encourage you to strive to do more, maybe to take some risks. For those that don't have that kind of support within their institutions or within their networks, what kind of advice would you give them? Where could they go to find those maybe more experienced hands, people that are a bit further on in their career? It's something that people often ask us. And I guess I'm not talking so much about maybe formal mentoring. I wanted to ask about that as well, but just someone that can give you guidance in an area that you have an interest in. What would you advise them to do in that scenario?
That's an interesting question. I first would like to comment that Stephen Bentley was one of my mentors. My PhD supervisor was actually Sabia Esak, who is also excellent, exceptional professor. It was one of the mentors who helped me to find my purpose, let's say like this. But where should people go? I think from what I can reflect on my own personal life, I think you get support everywhere. But people are much more interested in getting support aligned with what they are doing. I got support from my brother-in-law, who was actually just analyzing my rejection when I was having rejection. He was analyzing them and was telling me that you need to learn this. This is a support that you receive from people around your inner circle. And then I started reaching out to people on LinkedIn. You don't have to be very close from people, but only one person will give you a piece of advice that we use and that will help you to find the right information. And later on, we just continue. So I got support from my very close circle, from joining community. Like there are community like the HCA Baronet or SEC Africa or any kind of community you are in, you can get support and mentor from this community. The problem I see is that for many scientists, I think I don't know if it's many scientists or maybe in Africa, what I've seen myself is that we are in a community, but we don't interact with people enough. So we are just here to get information. So we are just looking at information without interacting, without saying any single thing. So that means no one can also know you. No one can interact with you. No one can know what you need. So no one will help you. But if you're in a community and that you are intentional by connecting with people inside the community, you will certainly have one or two people who at the end of the day become your own circle and who will have the information you need to get the right mentor. So it's not necessary that you go and find a person, it's that you interact naturally with people wherever you are. And from doing that, you create relation, you become vulnerable, you create relation intentionally that are real relation, not just I want this information, I want the mentor to get this postdoc or this position. I don't think it will work. At least a good relationship need to be prepared. So I think it's just to capture it is just to be intentional, to be vulnerable, and to ask people around you to share your story to people. When you do that, you will always find someone to direct you until you find the right person who will now guide you in your career.
Lovely, thank you. And leading on from that, and the idea of mentorship. So at RSTMH, we've been looking at establishing a mentorship platform, if you like, a mentorship and collaboration platform for many, many years. And the only reason why we haven't been able to do it is it's very expensive to develop one that we want, that we have in mind, which is multifaceted, and it's almost a, a kind of program in itself that people can insert information into in it, and it gives them lots of help and advice. And it's quite an expensive thing to develop. So we're still wanting to do that. But we hear about lots of mentorship platforms that are available. And I wanted to ask you, what are the qualities of a really good mentorship relationship? What do you feel makes it, a good match? Because people often ask us, they have people around them, but they say they're not quite right to mentor me. What do you think makes a good one?
Okay, thank you. I think it's a great question. From what I know, and for what I also tell to people is that it starts with the mentee. It starts with the mentee. The mentee has to know himself or herself. Has to know, what do you want? What do you need from the mentor? What do you need as a support? You have to know what you want and where you go. If you don't know that, if anyone come in, it won't be like you want because you don't even know what you want. So it starts with the person who needs help. What do you want? What do you need? Where do you go? When you realize you have written down all this information, then you will find people around you and you will see if the person is aligned with your need. Once you will know it because it's inside you. You have a feeling of, when you discuss with the person, you know that this is the person that I need. This is the person that will help me. Again, I think this is my point of view. So this is how, for me, it should start. It should start with being intentional with your weaknesses, your strength, where you are. And then from that, people will now having relationship. It takes time because some people, you need to know the person in front of you. They need to have a good communication process. Some mentee I've seen, they will just interact with the mentor when they need help. They will never come and reflect on what they did as they progress. They will never come and acknowledge the mentor or anything. So the mentor will wait for the mentee to do some kind of effort. If the mentee is not doing any single thing, the mentor doesn't have to do anything because it's a relationship that is driven by the mentee and not the other way around. So that is what I can say at first.
Lovely, thank you. All right, I can see a question that's come in, and which links to one I wanted to ask. So you mentioned about International Women's Day, and we know that for women working in science and global health, there are unique challenges in different ways. As you probably know, our grants program, we've worked really hard to make sure that we fund as many women as men, and we're almost at 50-50 over the last 5 years. So over 1,000 awardees, and I think it's 49% are women and 51% men. So we try and make sure that at that first research level, there's kind of as much balance as possible. How have you found balancing the needs of maybe having young children, as you mentioned in the start of your talk, and other maybe factors of being a woman in your area of work? How have you found the tools to overcome any challenges that you've seen along the way? And what would you advise others who are in the position you were in maybe 4 or 5 years ago starting out?
Oh, I found a tool to balance motherhood and career. I don't know if I have any tools. I want to say that.
The magic wand.
And I know balancing actually. Actually, I've stopped balancing. I think at first it was very difficult because I wanted to balance, like people say, work-life balance. And I burned out. I really burned out. I fell down at home with the babies, and I told myself I've never done that again. So if I have to do a work that is important for me, I will tell to my kids and my husband, everyone around me, that I'm doing these things important. And I will also sacrifice a bit of my time from sleep, of course. But when I'm with my family and my kids, and now home move, I put the work away. So I'm imbalancing and balancing, like all these things. I'm not always like it. I'm always moving up and down. And this has been, I think, since I've done it, I'm feeling more restful and peaceful in my mind. I think also I have support from my inner circle. when you are in Africa, you have the chance to have our mothers or mother-in-law, our sister who are actually all the time coming to our place to help us. That is a great support that we don't see can help us, but it's actually so important, so important for you to continue in your career. But when you're in Europe, because now I've been in Europe for 2 years, I've seen the difference. You don't have this support now. It's something else, and it's hectic sometimes because you tie your time with that of the schools, with that of the childcare of the schools, and if they're in strike, it's your problem. So everything you have to adapt your body, your schedule around that to make sure that you can still do what you do, and continue to be productive. And I also think that it requires you to know your strength. I really know how I work. I know that I work fast. I know that I learn fast. So I can say that I do something in 1 hour and I plan my time accordingly. Someone may need more than 1 hour, and so that means the planning should be adapted to also your strength and the way you process. So me, I wake up early to focus on my own well-being and have 1 hour to work on something important for me. Like when I write grant, I will wake up maybe every day at 5 because my kids are sleeping at 5 or maybe at 4. But when I finish that, I will start balancing again back to normal time. So I think that is what I'm doing. And for now, I'm okay. I think everyone has to find what is working best for you and adapt.
Lovely, thank you. And I wanted just to talk a little bit about the grants program and your experience. So you mentioned that the first time that you applied for the grant, you didn't get it, and then you applied again with a bit more, I don't know, maybe refinement of the project,
Yes.
and you were successful. And congratulations for that. As you know, the program's grown, but every year we have lots of people who aren't successful. And I don't know how many people here or that will see this recording will be in that category. What would your advice be on that, that specific, your first ever research grant? You mentioned that it was kind of life-changing in some ways, it got you started. What advice and would you have from your experience, that the things that people should consider when they're starting out so they don't get disheartened or they don't give up? What would you say?
So when they start and they don't get the grant, what should they do?
Yeah, or maybe their approach to putting that first research grant together, thinking about that first opportunity in the best possible way for them.
Yeah, I think the first thing is to have someone to look at your application. Don't submit without someone reading it, because what may seem obvious for you will not be from a reviewer, and the reviewer does not have to guess what you are trying to imply. They just mark you badly. And so I think this is the first thing. And the other thing is maybe look for help, seek for mentors if you don't have, and maybe try to have someone who have won before. Only having the perspective of the person will give you more information on how the application is being evaluated, because there are many parts of the application where people are, I will put in bracket, lazy. So they feel that has been put for just for the sake of putting, while it's something that is actually marked like the proposal itself, and they won't consider it. So someone will tell you, please put very well that you did so and so. So it's important, even if you don't have application, to have the reflection of someone who has won it, what they have put inside, because some of these application, they are putting everything for you to get rejected, actually, because there are many people. I'm sorry to say that, but there are many people. So we need to remove the maximum of people. And we do that by having tight work, number of words that you put in the application. You have tight information that we request from you. So those who don't do this effort, of course, they have to be rejected first, because the funder want those who can sustain in face of difficulty and adversity. They want those who will continue their work even when they fail, even if they have obstacles. So that is a way of filtering those who cannot sustain for long term. So if you fail, just take it as a learning process and continue. I've failed. I don't even know how many times I've been failing before winning this grant. And after that, I'm still failing. And I take it all like a learning opportunity, a learning curve. And the more I fail, the more I grow. And that's how you become someone tomorrow, how you can contribute to your legacy. You can stop, it's okay. And you can decide to work under someone else's leadership who is failing like the way you don't want to fail, but you'll be the employer of this person, which is also good. But don't complain after that you could have done something. Because if you want to do something, so you have to pay the price of this thing. So you have to get the sacrifice for doing it. That means failing, doing the work, the hard work that other people don't want to do. Thank you. I think you're muted
Lovely.
here.
Thank you. Now, there's a question that's come into the chat, and it's, what do you think about the street drugs impact on AMR?
The street drug impact on AMR.
On AMR, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very important issue. I think we know it's one of the main issues of driving AMR is like we have counterfeit drugs and those that are not well conditioned. But I don't think it's something that is related to the street drug themselves, but it's around the policy around it. So it's up to the government to put the policy in place so that we don't see them. I've never seen street drug in France, for instance. I've never seen street drug somewhere in Europe, but it's mainly in lower middle income countries that we have these street drugs. And I think it's something that the government have to provide the infrastructure with enforcement law to make sure that they don't exist anymore. And find a way also to make drugs accessible to other people, because people go to take the street drugs because they are more affordable than the pharmaceutical drugs. So if they can provide support, like the universal health coverage they have been implemented now, I think it's going to be better for the long-term reduction of antimicrobial resistance. Thank
Lovely.
you.
Thank you. Okay, there's another question in the chat here, which is a tough one. What if a mentee doesn't know what she wants because she hasn't had the work experience? In that scenario, how will she know what to tell the mentor? How would she know what to explain what she wants if she's not sure yet? How would you approach that?
It's a good question. I think even for me, I didn't actually know what I wanted. Is that the first time I discussed with Stephen Bentley, he asked me, why do you want to do this? And I explained why I wanted to do this. I explained about the babies dying, the fact that I had the chance to have my baby. He said, oh, so you want to do this actually? I said, okay, yes, this is what I want to do. So you may be lucky to have someone who has time for you to reflect with you, to just open something that you couldn't label, because actually you know it, but you don't know how to label it properly. So the person will label it for you. And since the person will label it, you'll be able to take it and now polish it every single day as you are growing also. So this is what I can say.
Lovely. There's another question about AMR, and that's about the fact that this is saying we're in countries with high unemployment and where the government does not care. Street drug selling becomes the way to survive for many families. So what do you suggest to come up with in terms of this practice, and that pharmacy drugs are not accessible to everyone? Obviously, this is something that at RSTMH we're very well aware of, and in many countries it's much more accessible to find medication on the street. What are there policies that you feel and practices that you feel would be helpful in the situation that's being asked?
I think this is a tough question. I can't really answer, but what I can say is that that is why you have to become a leader on your own. If the government does not care, it's because there are no leader from this field that is teaching them what they should do and why is it important. So that's why I become a leader, because I want to go and change the policy up there. I'm not becoming a leader because I want to just do the research. The point is to change something for other people to survive, to not have to face all these things. So if you see this problem, the government is not caring. So you have to care for that. You have to provide evidence to the government that they should care for that. So you have to do the work, if it's a science policy work, if it's the research, and do everything to provide to the government. If they still don't care, that means you have to become the government yourself. That means you have to transform yourself and reach up to the least level to start changing the policy. I won't tell about the policy because I'm not inside the government. I'm working in private sector. But that is me, as I see it as a research leader. This is how I see it. I've stopped asking for the government to do things. I started doing it on my own. And once the government feel that I'm making a lot of effort, they will just follow what I'm doing. I've stopped waiting for the government. That's my philosophy. I don't wait for the permission of the government. So if you feel that is a problem, you have to decide that you want to solve it on your own. Because now the government does not care for street drugs. They also don't care about baby dying every single day. So when I was giving birth, it was in 2018. My mothers was telling me giving birth is 50% living, 50% dying. We were in 2018. She's told me that she has given birth 30 years ago. She's told me that in 2018, you should give birth, you have the chance of dying and living. So the government does not care also. But I was with the best doctor, but every single thing, even there, it's still possible to die when you give birth. And when you have a baby, you can still die without you knowing what happened within 30 days. So if you want to wait for the government, it's possible, but it will take more times than rather than you pushing for the change to happen. That's why we say that science diplomacy, that everyone should be at the table in science diplomacy. It's not just the policy, but also the scientists who have the expertise to come in and shape the policy. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to just stick for a second on the subject of leadership. So obviously you are our emerging leader for 2024, and you've mentioned a bit about, I guess, some of the characteristics that you have delivered as a leader. So as you've just said, you know, being that change, making steps, not waiting. Are there any other characteristics that you feel make a good leader that could inspire others to think about what good leadership means?
What could leadership means? I think that's a difficult question again. What could leadership means? For me, someone who is trying to serve people, because I don't think for me a leader is someone who's serving people. It may mean just one person, like being a mentor and helping someone to find his path. It may mean go outside, finding someone who has the right talent, who has the right information, and put the person inside to come and change with you. It may be taking a big community, create a community, a movement, like the one I'm trying to do with Day2 Africa, where we want to create a critical mass of African scientists who can now shaping this change. Because as far as you are small, we cannot shape the change. So we want to create a critical mass of people. So for me, the leader should also have a big vision, something that go beyond you, something that is not about you. I'm not doing what I'm doing because I am happy, I'm trying to become Marie Curie or what. No, I'm trying to create a better world for other people, including for my own kids. I don't believe they should come and live the same challenges I've been facing. So this is beyond me. So you need to have a big vision, the courage to start, and the resilience to continue even when it's difficult, when it's tough.
Lovely, thank you. And this question is linked to that. It's come through the Q&A. And you've mentioned a bit about, you know, the failures that you've had along the way in your journey. So the question is, have you ever felt like quitting? And how do you encourage yourself to keep going and doing more, maybe in those scenarios when it's really difficult?
Have I ever felt quitting? Maybe, maybe it happened once or twice, but I don't remember very well because I started having a growth mindset that allowed me to be motivated even when I'm tired, when I don't feel like my motivation is like dream big, start small, work hard, stay focused. Not, something is happening. You can do it even if no one has done it before. So when I see a very, very big hill, I say, oh my God, how am I going to do that? No one has done that before. It's okay, it's fine. Even if no one has done it before, you can still do it if you do the small step, simple step. Again and again, you will do it. And I wake up and one day I've done it. And I continue. So I don't think of failing now as a problem now. I become my friend. Failing became my best friend. So I am I'm more enthused to fail more. So I'm always taking risks to fail. Even if I don't have the level or what, I'm just going first. I try to fail. But sometimes I win. Sometimes when I'm not the one being contended, so I win sometimes. And this is a learning curve to become the better version of myself. So I could have thought quitting. I don't remember when, but I know that it happens once. So, and now I'm not thinking about it anymore because I know that I'm doing something that is about helping to create a better world. And since I'm having a very big purpose, I don't see it as a challenge anymore because I know I do it for my kids, my grandkids, and for other people who benefit from that.
Lovely, thank you. I want to ask a quick question about, there's one in the chat first. Let me do this first. It says, what practical interventions do you think are necessary for combating AMR and neonatal sepsis in Cameroon, especially since the government are not collaborative?
I didn't get the question. Can you come again, please?
Oh, yes, of course. It says, what practical interventions do you think are necessary for combating AMR and neonatal sepsis in Cameroon specifically, especially since the governments are not collaborating?
Okay, and it's a good question. I will say that maybe the government, I won't say that the government is not collaborating. They are trying as they can. But what I want to say is that the first or the one of the things that I've noticed is almost missing in not only Cameroon, it's almost everywhere in Africa or in other low middle income countries, the participation of the community. We need to put the community at the center of everything we are doing. Currently, what I've noticed, many efforts are coming up from down, and we told to the community to come and do this. Some research institutions, some research groups are putting community at the center to see what is happening. So we need more of that, putting the community at the center. What do you have? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? And then we explain them what is antimicrobial resistance, how we can kill them, how we can kill their babies. So one of the projects we have been writing recently is about new care. So a new way of taking care of babies is go to the community, tell to the community, you have to go to the hospital, because if you don't go to the hospital, your baby is sick, you will not know what is happening. He will die the time you come to the hospital. And the study was about to looking for why are you not coming to the hospital actually when something is happening. In fact, they will tell us that maybe they don't have money, maybe the doctor are not taking care well of them, maybe it's so far. So all these things are evidence that we need to create right policy from the government. If the government is changing from what is coming from another country, it can work. Like it cannot work also, it may not work also. So we need local evidence from the ground by coming to the community. What is happening in your community? Are you taking your water? Are you drinking? Why are you not going to the hospital? And the more we do that, the more we are bringing community to the table, the more we are emphasizing the community, the more we have change. Because if you train from the road, you have more change that is become sustainable. And that was one of the reasons we went to high school, teach the pupils out what is infectious diseases, what is antimicrobial resistance, for that themselves they are aware that when they are sick, they have to go to the doctor instead of taking the drugs. So this is a way that what we are doing, we have been doing and seeing other people doing. So I cannot say this is what Cameroon has to do, this is what Nigeria has to do, because it depends on the country. And all these things, we are all here to learn from all experience and see what we can take to adapt to our context and test what is working for us and now put it as a policy.
Thank you. Okay, I have two very quick questions left. I'm sorry, I have
That's
so
fine.
many and I still haven't got through almost half of them. The first one is, I guess I'm so interested to hear about D2 Africa, the organization you started. When you think about success, you've mentioned that you want, to create momentum and lots of individuals involved. What do you see as success for it? What would you love it to achieve in, 10 years time or whatever? What's your goal and ambition for it?
Very simple. Empowering 1 million of researchers or scientists by 2030. Why 1 million? Yes, 1 million that have unleashed their full potential by 2030. Why? Because we believe that if only one researcher can save throughout his life 100 person, that is the bare minimum that a normal researcher can have as impact. For 1 million is going to be 100 million person. That means we have a critical mass of scientists who can now shape everything in Africa. So this is my goal, not be just 10,000, no, but really a big number. And with this big number, we'll have change for long term in Africa that will last.
Incredible. Thank you. Okay, my last question is about networking. So we have a session later on today about networking. And I think as RSTMH, we try and create spaces for networking. We can't do those as much in person as we'd like to. Costs of travel, we all know, are higher, and there are other concerns. You've mentioned a lot about the networks that you've had over time, and that people should reach out to their local communities and establish their own networks. I just wanted to ask a quick one, which is how would you advise people, maybe they don't have a network at all outside of their where they're based, their institution? Are there any tips that you would have for people to reach out to grow their networks, if that's not what's happening naturally where they're working or where they're based, where they're studying?
So the question is, what can someone do to have network?
Yeah, how does someone grow their network if they're starting on that journey?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. But again, I think that the network is existing everywhere. You just have to see that there are people around you who are actually mentoring you without telling you that they are mentoring you. There are people who are advising you without you knowing that they are advising because you are looking for something else. So your eyes are looking for something else that looks like something that you may want, but actually you already have something in your hand that you should use properly and leverage, then to have other things. So for me, it's actually taking what you have in your resources. I won't say that I won't have because this is an excuse for me to not do what you have to do. So I will say, okay, what do I have? Who do I know? Is it one person? Yes, let me go to see this person. Let me ask this person what I can do. And this person may know someone else. I don't think someone can say that yes, I have no one. You always have someone, even if it's a book, even if it's YouTube, even if there are so many things now out there that if someone is telling me that you don't have access, I won't believe that because that's actually this is a mindset issue. It's not actually an issue of networking. It's an issue of the person in his mind that wants something while he has something already in his hand, he's not valorizing it. So that's how I see it actually. That's my philosophy.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we're at time. I want to congratulate you again for being our emerging leader for 2024.
Thank you so much.
Very well deserved. And also congratulations from before on being one of our earlier grant awardees. This has been such an inspiring talk. I've learned so much, and I'm sure many people on this talk on the meeting have also learned new things and hopefully been inspired by you and your words. So thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. I know that some people have asked for your contact details, so we'll pick that up with you after. And questions that come in after this, we'll forward to you if that's okay with you. But thank you from all of us for your time. It's
Thank you
been
so much
such a pleasure.
thank you so much for the invitation again. Thank you for everything you are doing out there. It's amazing. Thank you.
Lovely. So for everyone, we have a break now until 10:30 UK time. So about 12 minutes. I'm sorry, I went over a little bit with Dr. Luria. There's so much I really wanted to know from her and her experience. So I hope you'll forgive me for that. So we'll see you back here in about 12 minutes. The screen will stay, but join us again soon. Thank you so much. Bye.